Hello and welcome back. So I've decided that before ending this session, what we need to do is to add scoping to our shooting controller, okay? Because that is required for the shooting controller. Alright, whenever we press the scope input, we want the camera to zoom in a little bit. Just in the Hitman game, if you play the Hitman game, in that the camera zooms in. Alright. And also, if you play Hitman game, in a Hitman game, there is no jumping mechanics, okay? The player can't jump. So that's why I have not add the jumping mechanics to our third person controller, because that is what is happening in the Hitman game if you play it. I know there are some parkour things, but don't worry, maybe in some other course when we will be recreating this Hitman again, maybe I add parkour in that game, alright? But for now, we're just gonna continue with what I have shown you in the introductory video. So for scoping, what we're gonna do, we're gonna open up our camera manager script. Alright, then right here, I'm gonna add a header by the name of scoped settings. In this, we will be needing a float by the name of scoped FOV, which will be by default set to 20. Then we will create a float by the name of default FOV, and the default FOV of every camera in Unity is 60. If I show you the camera right here, as you can see, the field of view of this is 60. So make sure that you go ahead and check your camera FOV or field of view. As you can see, in my case it is 60, so I'm gonna set this variable value to 60. Alright, then create a bool by the name of is scoped. This is gonna be false by default. Then we're gonna create a reference to the player movement script. Actually, for now we don't need that, so you can remove it and just add a reference to the camera. Alright, I'm gonna name it as camera as well. Now for scoping, right down below, we're gonna create a new method by the name of handle scoped FOV or field of view. In here we will say that if we press the scope input, so input manager dot scope input, then we want our camera field of view to be changed to the scoped FOV, which is 20. So from 60 it will be changed to 20, and the scoped will be set to true. Then in the else block we will say that set the camera field of view to the default FOV, which is 60. So then from 20 it will be again set to 60, which is the default value of the camera FOV. Then we're gonna set the scope to false. That is all you have to do for this. Then you can copy this method name and paste it right here. After that, you can save the script, get back right here, click on your camera manager, and in the camera manager make sure that you drag and drop your camera in there. Then let's go ahead and play the game. And now if we press our scope input, which is the mouse right button, or on the controller it is the left trigger, as you can see the camera zooms in. Alright, and the player can walk. Okay, for now we can't see the player, so I'm gonna make it maximize. Let's zoom in. As you can see, there is our player. Alright, so it means that it works perfectly fine. If you want, you can set the scoped FOV to 30 or a larger value. Okay, this you can set it to 30 if you want, so I'm gonna set it to 30, and make sure that you set it to 30 right here. And then if you play the game and zoom ins, now as you can see it looks good. Alright, as you can see it looks good. Alright, But what we want to do, we want that whenever we are in the scope mode like this, we want our character to rotate with the camera. Okay, for example, if we are shooting, okay, the player has any gun in the hands, we want the player to rotate to that side and also a little bit up and down. Okay, so let's add that right here on our camera manager. In the rotate camera, right down below, we're gonna say that if the scoped pool is true, then we want the camera look speed to be equals to 0.3 because we want to slow down the camera speed. Okay, because when the player is scoped in, we want that movement to be then a little bit slow so that the player can focus on the enemies and try to shoot them in a correct manner. And we also want to change the minimum pivot angle to minus 0.5. Make sure guys that you follow me right here as it is, and change the maximum pivot angle to 6. Alright, so when you do these, the player will be able to look up and down. Alright, and in order to make the player look up and down, we're gonna say player.rotation equals to quaternion dot Euler, pass the pivot angle to it and the look angle to it, and then for the z we're gonna pass 0. Alright, then in the else block, if the player is not scoped in, we want the values to be changed back to normal, so the camera look speed will be equals to, let me check, camera look speed will be equals to zero point 0.1 and pivot speed will be zero point 0.1 as well. Alright, so it will be changed to 0.1. Camera pivot speed will be equals to 0.1. The minimum pivot angle will be equals to minus 30 and the maximum pivot angle will be 30. Alright, so make sure that you set it back to its default when we are not scoped. That is all you have to do. Now if you play the game, let's pick out any rifle. Alright, let's zoom in. Now as you can see, the player moves in. The player can move, look up and look down. As you can see, the player just look up and down a little, as you can see. Okay, if you want, you can increase the minimum and maximum angle of it, and the player will even look more down and look up as well, but I will just leave it to this. Okay, so now our player can rotate with the camera wherever the camera looks, okay, in scope mode, as you can see. And with this done, let's end this video right here.